By his own admission, Colin Luttrell was a bit of a messed up kid. Looking back over the last 3, 4, 5 years, would you have done anything differently?
No. In my whole life, I wouldn't do anything differently. Nope.
Despite no clear-cut career path early on, Colin realized, with some help and advice from his own mother, that plumbing could be that road. Listen in. Hey, Colin, thanks for joining us. I'm excited about this podcast because you have an interesting journey in the plumbing business. So you were originally kind of working plumbing side jobs was it for yourself or for a different company?
It was for myself. So I have a long career in the plumbing industry, and
you were doing the side hustle though, and you were like, you know what? I'm not enjoying this side hustle, and you were about to pull the plug. Am I correct? And kind of bail on the whole thing, and you were going to take like the EMT route, right?
So there's so many avenues with it, but yeah, that was one portion of the journey. I was going to be a firefighter.
So let's go backward, okay? Like you were doing plumbing side hustle. Did you have? I mean, that was how you were making a living at the time.
So I'm going to go a little bit farther back.
I want you to go back. Go back as far as you want. Let's start at childhood. Let's start at childhood.
You don't want to go that far.
Yeah, none of us do. Don't worry.
I'll have to pay therapy lessons or something like that to go back.
Your parents probably needed the paid therapy lessons, I would bet.
Oh, absolutely. We're all plumbers, right?
Right. Well, so actually I'm going to go back. You're in high school. Where do you grow up?
Rochester, New York.
So you're still in Rochester. So you grow up in Rochester, New York. And when you're in high school, like, what are your aspirations? What do you want to do when you grow up?
Nothing. I was a punk.
You know what? Most successful people were. And I think that's what's fun about talking on podcasts.
Absolutely. It's funny because now I try to find people like myself or who I was in high school, because I didn't like authority. How about that?
Well, was it you didn't like authority, or were you, like everyone likes to categorize or silo people? Did you probably have ADHD and you just couldn't concentrate and you hated school? That whole, because I was cut from that same mold. I went to high school in the 80s. I couldn't wait to get out. I went to U.S. Navy because I had no other options, because I had coasted through high school, and everybody told you you're not going to amount to anything. So I think I have a similar story. But so you're in high school, and in your own words, you were a punk.
Absolutely.
So at age 18, what do you do?
So truthfully, I didn't do anything. I got out of high school. I actually enrolled in college for 2 months, and the same background as you. I have ADHD. I can't sit still. I'm not a good test taker. I didn't want to be in a classroom, but I had my mother, who raised me. She pushed me towards the college route for the first 2 months, and I couldn't do it. I went for HVAC. I didn't even know what HVAC was. I just knew it was going to be a booming thing. She almost even pushed it on me.
So it was a tech college?
Correct.
In Rochester?
It is. So it's not completely tech. It's a 2 and 2. So you have to do your English, your math, and then you do 2 classes of tech. So it was like soldering, brazing, and then your components.
So you do some general eds, and then they kind of push you into a little bit of tech. But your mother, who I will say you should be sending her Mother's Day cards for sure every year now, realized that HVAC was a smart career path.
Yeah, absolutely. This is 15 years ago too.
So as your mother, did she recognize that even with your, mothers are smart, yeah. I think back and think about how patient my mother was, because my story is identical to yours.
Yeah.
And now I had 3 stepkids. I don't have any kids, quote unquote, of my own, but I had 3 stepkids, and I think, they think they're being so smart. And I say, there's nothing you're doing that I haven't already done.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I give all the credit to my mom. So she worked for a plumbing company, and it's probably how I got into plumbing, but she was just in the office. I never really knew what she did until later in life, where we worked together for, 3 years. But that's probably how I subliminally got into plumbing. But she's been in the trade, so she knew, the older generation was going to phase out. Nobody's getting into it. But this is, again, 15 years ago. So
you went to the... Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. You went to the tech school, and you ended up dropping out.
Yes, because all I wanted to do was party. I met the love of my life at 18, and I sort of knew it at that time. I never knew what my life would be like, obviously, in the future, like it is today, which is just God's grace. But I met the love of my life, and all we wanted to do was just be. I just wanted to be with her. I wanted to party. I wanted to hang out with my friends. That's all I wanted to do.
So do you outgrow the partying, or like how do you eventually realize like, okay, I'm on a path to nowhere?
Oh, absolutely. So like I partied at a young age, and like I didn't really get into anything too heavy, but just it was the thing. So like at an early age, I had a very lenient mother as well. So I got into partying. I got it all out of my system. And then eventually when I was 21, so I had a 3-year stretch like between 18 and 21. I had a kid. Me and my now wife, we had a kid together at she was 20, I was 21, and that sort of retracted my mind. Got me
What
into
year is this roughly?
2020, 20 or no, gosh, geez. 2015, my daughter was born.
Okay. So 10 years ago.
Yes.
So 10 years ago, you have a child, your daughter. What's your
Yep.
daughter's name?
Addison.
Addison?
Yep.
So Addison comes into the picture and you realize like, all right, things have changed.
Got to get my stuff together.
So what does that look like?
So prior to her being born, I started at a construction company, and they had a plumbing division. I worked during that party stage. Like I worked for a construction company, and I slowly got into plumbing. So I'm backtracking just a little bit. So like during that whole party stage between like my 18 to 21, I got into a construction company who had a separate division of plumbing. So I started out 6 months just doing basic construction labor, and eventually I got into plumbing because I liked the crew that was over on the plumbing side. And that's as simple as it is. We got along very well. I didn't even know what plumbing was, but they got me into the plumbing division. And then the rest was I just fell in love with the ins and outs of plumbing.
This is residential or commercial
Correct.
or both?
Residential. It was all residential at first.
You're doing residential plumbing. This is roughly 10 years ago. You're doing it for a construction company.
Yep.
When do you start plumbing on the side?
Oh, God. 7-8 years later. So I ended up joining a union, and I'm going to fast forward a little bit. So like I joined the union. I did the union for about 4 to 5 years. And then I worked for a service company because that was mainly my background was residential service. Even in the union, I did some service plumbing, which is drains, your basic function of a house. I also did high rises. I did steam units. I did hospitals, but got to learn a lot in the union. And then I managed a plumbing company, and I started a service division for a different company. So I got hired as an estimator. Again, I'm fast forwarding pretty quickly. If you got to slow me down, just tell me to
The way
slow
your brain
down.
works. Don't worry, I'll reel you back in.
Yeah. So I fast forward a little bit to 2018, 2019. I got hired to be an estimator for a commercial company. I didn't have a background in this. This is where my mother worked. So
At this point, you're about 30 years old, almost 30 years old.
no, I was 26.
Okay.
I'm 31 now. My times might be a little goofy, but
doesn't matter. Nobody's going to fact check this.
Well, you never know with Facebook, man.
Well, I am going to pause you. So you were in a union, and you had paid union dues for 5-6 years. I thought you had said you were in a union. Is the union something when you're a union plumber? I know that's a good gig in itself. Is that something hard to, I'm going to use the word escape, and it doesn't mean escape like it's a bad thing, but is that something hard to get out of just because you're making your union contributions? They're kind of taking care of your retirement, all those things at that time. Is it something where you're like, am I making the right choice by even bailing on the union, or did that never cross your mind?
No, it full-heartedly crossed my mind. It was even when I left, I was like, crap, did I make the right decision? But I got brought in a little bit different. So like I had a plumbing background. So they fast forwarded me like 3 years in my like the schooling that you have to go to. So it was completely different. So like it's just a different situation than just a standard.
Is all of that experience what you set you up for success perhaps now, or definitely contributed?
Absolutely. Because like I said, I did high rises. I learned prints in the union. I did classes in the union. I think residential is a great place to start, but once you start doing like new builds and like I said, high rises, you could put something together, you could take it apart, you know how to service it, which was again my background. So it definitely made me who I am today as a plumber.
You decide at some point to leave the union, go out on your own. You're doing your own side hustle plumbing, for lack of a better term, out of your wife's Mazda, right?
Not yet. Nope.
Not yet. We're not there yet.
No, like I said, it's a journey, man. So I'll fast forward it, and you stop me when you need to. So we
just rewind. It's so easy. I just ask you questions that go backward.
At Service Titan, we know running a contracting business is hard work. With our all-in-one solution for the trades, managing your business needs from scheduling to invoicing is easier than ever. Learn how ServiceTitan gives you the tools to keep your business running smoothly. Visit ServiceTitan.com. Once again, that's ServiceTitan.com.
I got hired as an estimator for a commercial company and ended up creating a service division during it. Again, there's a lot of ins and outs. It sounds like it was just boom, boom, boom. Got hired as an estimator, did estimating because I knew schematics, I knew drawings. It was anything under like 1.5 million and under like Burger King's, Chick-fil-A's. We did the House of Sports out here, Dick's Sporting Goods. So I was after this position. So like during this position, me and my wife, and now we have 2 kids, we are debating about moving to North Carolina. So when I left this position as an estimator and eventually a service manager, that's where my side work.
Why were you thinking about leaving?
Just to grow as a family. Nothing against New York State, but the winters are brutal. And we wanted my sister lives down there. I'm very close to my sister, and Charlotte is a booming area, Mecklenburg County. It's still in the back of the cranium, but it just to grow as a family, do something different, and just get out of New York for a little bit.
So you were just contemplating a new scenery.
Yep.
And you were contemplating at that point a career change into like being a firefighter / EMT.
Correct.
Why?
During this last position as an estimator, I joined my local fire department and I loved it. I had like fire in me. I did my state course, like I'm a certified, New York State firefighter. I did my EMT course and I was just gung ho about it, like completely. But I ended up breaking my shoulder and it sort of dialed me back into plumbing a little bit more, which again, the whole journey that this has been just crazy. So like you're asking me things that I'm sort of like, yeah, I did want to be a firefighter. Like
you were passionate about that whole EMT firefighter thing, ended up getting injured, and that's all that sidetracked it. It was just something, again, like you flat out said, like my brain likes to go a lot of different directions. I liked plumbing yesterday, but today I like firefighting. And now that I said you liked firefighting, you think you like firefighting again. So let's not pull the plug on Colin the plumber yet.
Yeah.
But at this point, you were contemplating the move to North Carolina. Why did you not?
Because the side business. So like the
side business starts to take off at that point.
Yes.
Okay. Are you still doing the estimating, and then at night you're going and hustling a couple jobs, or?
No. So when my side business really took off is where I ended up leaving the last position, and we had like a 4-month interim for us moving. Like we had a deadline. So I quit this last position and I just started doing all my side work.
And then this side work turns into full-time work.
Yeah, so it literally started off as me I was doing a water service one day, and I called my wife. I'm like, babe, I think I should probably get insurance so we don't get sued before we leave. And then the next week, I'm like, babe, I can't work out of your Mazda. I'll buy a van. We'll just sell it, or we'll bring it down there, and then we'll sell it when we get down there. And it literally snowballed into what it is today. Even when it came to employees, like my first employee he was working for a franchise company, and he was doing all my extra volume work that I couldn't handle because I was getting so much volume. So I started giving it to him, and then it snowballed into him being.
Where's all this work coming from? Just word of mouth? Is there that much demand and that few, not enough people to do it? Because right off the bat, are you advertising, or is this just 100% word of mouth?
100% word of mouth. And it sort of stemmed from just doing it over the years. So like the side work that I would always get calls to my phone, and I would just run through the company. And, once I was not at that company, I'm like, you know what, let me just make a couple $100 real quick and I'll be back in an hour. And
so the company's growing, and then you end up hiring another guy that you were shuffling the work you couldn't handle to.
Yep.
At this point, are you Colin the plumber? Are you a company, or are you Colin the plumber just plumbing on the side?
No. At this point, we're Colin the plumber. So as soon as the last trip down to North Carolina in that interim, after that 4-month span, we made the decision. We got down there. We were going to put a deposit on a property, and we decided to pull the strings because it was too lucrative up here, and we had to give it a full year before we really could make up our mind.
You hire this first person to come work with you. That was 3-4 years ago. How long ago was that?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. what I want to go to before you hire this first guy and you're already calling the plumber. You guys have a very nice professional appearance. Were you cognizant of branding and things like that right off the bat?
I was, because I just created a services division for another company. So like I sort of had it in me, the right order to do things. The branding, no, I was flying on by the, I was winging it. I was just winging it with the branding. The logo, I never really meant for it to stick, but it got to a point where it stuck. So they were kind
of even for a new quote unquote plumbing company to go out there and start buying a van, expensive. To go out there and start buying your own equipment, expensive. And then to recognize that right away that branding and image are an important part of your business. Are you wrapping that van right off the bat? Because there's another $2,000 that you're probably wondering, do I have this to spend on a van wrap?
Yeah, so we went full gun ho on it. We wrapped it immediately just because I knew that's obviously, people are going to see it. We can make some videos. Yeah, it's all expensive though. And I grew up, my mother was a penny saver. So I grew up very conscious of money. So I definitely had my reservations, but like looking back, it's just so worth it. Obviously,
are you making money that first year? Like you're doing well.
Absolutely.
So you hire another guy and you're still doing well.
Yep. My wife was able to
add all that equipment again. Is that just based on cash flow from the business? Or are you taking out loans? Where's that money coming from?
Cash flow from the business and on my personal credit. I've always had good credit, but not really too many loans. Even I'm learning still the business side of it as I keep going. But I paid off, which is not a good thing. But I have like 4 vehicles paid off completely just because I hate debt. I don't like owing people money. I like paying my debts and not owing money.
At some point, the business cash flow, though, is getting to a point that allows you to do this. Is that right off the bat?
No. So hired the first guy, and actually he was a 1099 employee. So like he was going to launch his own company, and I sort of steered him away from it based on the one-man band operation is very tough once. There's no end game in sight for the one-man band, and I don't discourage anybody from doing it because you can make a heck of a living. But you got to think like long term and like your future, your retirement, your kids. Like life's short. I was saying to my guys in the office staff yesterday, like we're meant to work to a certain degree, but like I'm big on family. I'm big on my guys having time with the family, and enjoying life because that's really what it's about. I don't want to be one of these guys who I'm rambling a little bit, but I don't want to be one of these guys that just work
yourself to death and never had any enjoyment in life.
Yeah, like there's so much.
But even the one man show, beyond just a lifestyle that you can enjoy, isn't just the logistics of running a one man show. You're answering your phone, you're doing your billing, all of that. Are you getting help from your wife at all, or is this all just you?
That's what I was going to lead into. So my wife was an RN, went to 3 years of school, brilliant woman. And she ended up leaving her position in that first year of opening Colin the Plumber because we had a newborn baby. And then she was doing my book. So that's the biggest piece, I think, honestly, to it, too, is having a good partner.
Because it's really hard to manage a plumbing business. I have a good friend who is a plumber here we're in northern Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And I know one of the things that ended up being his biggest obstacle was he couldn't manage his own phone calls because he felt like he could just answer his cell phone. Well, you can't.
Nope.
You can't just answer your cell phone when you're in the middle of a job. So then it leads to, well, I forgot to call that person back.
Yeah.
And then it leads to the reputation of he never calls you back, that type of thing. You were smart enough to recognize right off the bat that you couldn't handle all this on your own.
No, I tried it till about, where were we in February? I tried it till last July, and then I took a leap of faith and financially and mentally and launched what it is today. So it was me and Nick, which is he's like my right hand man in this. Me and him grew it to what it is today, and then I tried wearing all the hats and it just didn't work. And now that I don't have to answer the phone, it is it's awesome.
Well, I've talked to quite a few plumbers on the podcast and over the years, just because of the nature of my position. And I know that growing your business can be painful because, to your point, you said there's certain things you're good at and certain things you're not good at. Have you come to recognize what you need to outsource to other people, meaning?
I'm learning
Or
that.
do you still try to do too much yourself?
I try. I call myself a very good delegator. So like I could sort of see, how do I want to word it? I'm a good delegator, so I like having my hand in the pot. I have a good fine line between micromanaging and being a delegating like tasks and stepping out of my comfort zone. So I definitely handed off a ton of, billing, phones, follow-ups, thank you cards, you name it. Like my hand's sort of out of that pot. But like when it comes to the scheduling and who's good at what, I like being in my shop, in my office, because like when I overhear these phone calls, I could be like, nope, because he doesn't, like, he has a 50 gallon on his van because over the weekend he loaded up one and never put back his 40. So send this Missy because she has a 40, you know what I mean? Just certain things where like these girls are so focused on like the billing and the phones where I could just sit back and
handle the logistics, so to speak.
Yeah. Delegate it.
Now we'll fast forward a little bit instead of rewinding. What are you at today? How many employees do you have?
I think 10.
So you've got 10. Are you still running in the field or are you pretty much in the office all day?
No, this past like month and a half I've been in the office, but I'm owner operator. I like being in the field.
You've got 10 employees now, and this all happened over a 3-ish year period.
We just hit 3 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Not
you go
even, like I launched in March 3 years ago.
You go from just yourself to now having 10 employees, and those are no longer 1099 employees, I'd assume.
Nope.
You had talked about even you were a guy who worked for a different company and realized like, well, why I can do this on my own. Is that one of the biggest obstacles of your business? Is these 10 guys you have working for you, keeping them satisfied and happy and not realizing like, well, why am I doing this for Colin?
You're always going to get that. So that's definitely a fear I have. I try saying this with like the most truth is I tell everybody the same thing I just told you before. It seems like the grass is always greener. And it's not like anything that we make goes right back into the company. So yes, I am nervous a little bit, but what can you really do? I support whoever. And that's really the obstacle with the market now is because like we've grown, and again, cut me off if I'm rambling because I'm sort of not dodging it, but I don't have the best answer for that one, but it's definitely nerve wracking, but we've grown to either the first or second best fit company in our area, which is
what are your concerns with this rapid growth you're experiencing then, or do you not really have any?
No, that's it. You said it, is keep making sure the employees stay happy. That's like my biggest thing. So I want to pay whoever in Rochester is watching this. I want to be the top payer. I think plumbers should be making hell of a good money. I think they should be very happy in what they do. I feel like they should have time off, a limited PTO. Like I want to create an environment that's different than I have created an environment that is different than the boomers and like the old generation. If my office staff wants to work from home, I don't care. It's the new day and age. Like it's where I'm trying to lean with some of this.
Did you create this environment based off of what you learned that you didn't like?
Yep. So I was more efficient at home during COVID. So if these people want to stay home, I don't care. It's stay in your sweats, get your job done. That's all it is.
You said you offer like unlimited PTO for your service people.
Yeah,
I instituted a similar thing here several years ago now. And it was, there was a little bit of the tenured employees were kind of pissed off because, it took them 10 years to work to 3 weeks, blah, 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 whatever. But I will say in the end, I think it's worked really well and nobody takes advantage of it. And I'm curious if you feel the same way.
No, I hope I don't seem like I'm taking all the credit for this. I don't feel the same way at all. Nobody's taking advantage of it, but we've built a very good team and like, it's just super cool. So like, I couldn't have done any of this obviously without the staff that I have at hand. It's nothing like, it started out with me, but it's a team. It's always a team. So that's sort of where I'm doing a full circle with that.
So in 3 years, you've jumped up to 10 people. How do you determine when it's time to hire an 11th and a 12th and a 13th?
So like, it's tough. It always just, like I said, it's a snowball effect, and we had a guy like 2 weeks ago do 80 hours, which is just unethical. So like, it's just, we get to that point where like, I sit down, I ask the people, we do interviews like every week. And at first I hired fast and fired slow. So we've had a couple people come and go, and it's just, I'm taking my time with the hiring process now. But I asked, it's a group effort. Like, hey, do we need backup? Do we need an extra set of hands? March is coming. The falls are coming. March and April are very busy months. So like, we just hit our record breaking month in January, which is absolutely insane. But so we're planning for just, it's all strategic. You got to look at your numbers you did last year. I worked with a couple people from like, I've done a lot of training with like old Nexstar people and just watched the markets, and it's a team effort. I ramble a lot, so you got to shut me up sometimes.
You bring up, no, quit saying that. You bring up Nexstar, you're a flat rate shop.
Yeah, we are a flat rate shop. Yep.
You've got these 10 guys now, and you say, well, we had a guy who worked 80 hours. So you're probably, let's just pretend you're ready for your 11th. Is that the hurdle, is finding the qualified 11th?
Yeah. So it's not about really it's commodity. The biggest thing is commodity for me. So like
somebody who fits.
Yeah.
Fit Collins culture.
Yep. Because we're a growing company. We are on our first shop right now. There's a lot of patience that these techs and the office staff that has to deal with it, because it's a startup. It's not like what they're used to. And same with the camaraderie and the atmosphere. Like, it's just not, it's different. And that's what I try to promote.
3 years is such a short time to go from 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself 3 years from now?
Don't know. Really don't know. I never expected this. Give it right back to God. But it's wild. I'll tell you that much. I don't know. Like I said, I know the other companies, like the franchise companies up here, and I'm going to dabble into something a little bit different. I know private equity has been a huge thing in the market with trades lately, and they're scooping up all these guys with their numbers and the KPIs. So what I've noticed in the market is that these bigger corporations that have sold the private equity, that's what PE is, have taken a plummet, and they left, at least in Rochester, the market wide open. So for us to make that jump in 3 years is insane. And again, never on my mind. I would love to, continue taking over the Rochester market. I would love to create this environment that I have up in my brain of what a workplace should be. I want to support anybody that comes in here. But sky's the limit, man. I don't know, for my short answer. I don't know. I have a lot of personal goals, but
you kind of stole my last question, but I want to bring up something interesting that you brought up.
Yeah.
Private equity. I think you basically just said private equity has opened the door for your business to grow because they've messed up their acquisitions.
It's not really on the private equity side. It's on when private equity purchases a company, you have to still, it's all depends on the deals too. So like, I've done a lot of research into private equity, and I'm not like I'm learning every day still. So like,
well, are they ruining the culture of those
Yes.
companies?
Yes.
And then those they're basically eliminating their workforce through a different culture, because the private equity culture is 100% based on profit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Numbers. All the guys are numbers.
Exactly. Private equity doesn't invest in things because they want to. I'm generalizing, and
Yeah.
Not all private equity is the same, but the bottom line is the bottom line in private equity.
Yeah.
Typically, people aren't their first priority. Profitability is. You've already said that number one at Collins Place is the people.
Yep, 100%.
And that's probably what's giving you such a huge fast track into your market. So if private equity has taken a lot of that, they're probably ruining a lot of culture at these companies that they're acquiring.
Jeff, that's exactly what's happening. And I've seen it and we've been able to scoop up 3 or 4 employees just from, that scenario.
I typically always end with my last question, which for you, I think is way too premature, but I'm going to ask it anyway, especially since I do know you have a couple of kids. Are you building this business for acquisition or succession? Meaning,
yeah.
Do you understand? Like I'm saying, do you want to pass this off to your kids or somebody else at some point? Or ultimately,
that's
are you hoping
PE
comes knocking on your door and says, here's 10 million or 20 million or 100 million, Colin?
We've got offered already. I've gotten two offers already within 3 years. So that's not the MO for this. I'm not going to be the dad that forces my kids into this. It's going to be Lord willing around if they want to join the team and, learn a trade, it'll be here, hopefully, but I'm not going to ever push that stuff on them. So my thing is just making it a staple in the community, pass it off to somebody, whether it's family, whether it's a tech or whatever it may be. But like I said, I got a lot of things about how I want to get more invested into the trade in my local community.
The way your brain works,
yeah.
I think it would be interesting for you, especially because you're still pretty much in an infancy stage. And as far as I'm concerned, 3 years in, but with the number of people you have, you should maybe look like at an ESOP, an employee stock ownership program or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how you become, if you're saying the things that I say and you don't walk the walk, like that's how successful people happen, is exactly how you just said, is let the technicians, let the office staffs, let them get involved in the actual company, and the rest is history. They treat it like their own because it is their own, and it's their reputation. Same with mine.
Looking back over the last 3, 4, 5 years, would you have done anything differently?
No, in my whole life I wouldn't do anything differently. Nope.
Check out Colin the Plumber at colintheplumberllc.com. Please be sure to like and subscribe to hear more great interviews like Colin's.